So they say about 85% of jobs are filled through networking online. And this was done by LinkedIn, one of their surveys back in 2023.
I can see that being true because if you think about it too, how many times do we see friends that are posting like, hey, our job is hiring?
Totally agree with you. The LinkedIn is the business social media.
But if people aren't seeing your work, then there's no trust being built on that aspect.
So basically the creative version of it with the online portfolio is more important than just having a resume. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of 23 Journeys, a network for creatives. I'm your man, Mr. Tato Datson, joined by my lovely wife and co-host, Naomi Joy.
I am back on screen again, everybody.
For all those who listen on the audio podcast, you have not missed Naomi at all, but those of us who watch us on the video, it's great to see you on screen again with us.
Thank you.
So, we've had some great guests who really touched on some important points on networking. We talked about niching down. We've talked with people who focus on collaboration. We did a little bit of online. There's so much information that's been coming out. So today we wanted to really hone in on some of the tips that maybe some of our past guests have used, but also some stuff that maybe people didn't know about with online networking, because the world's digital now. It's we still network and we meet in person, but at the end of the day, the online footprint is extremely important too. So I wanted to start off with some quick stats to really get everything going. So they say about 85% of jobs are filled through networking online. And this was done by LinkedIn. This was done by one of their surveys back in 2023. I'm sure they probably interviewed a ton of different entrepreneurs, businesses, and everything. I looked through it a little bit, and it was a pretty good report and everything.
I can see that being true because if you think about it too, how many times do we see friends that are posting like, hey, our job is hiring, or hey, I'm looking for somebody, or I know somebody that's looking for a job, and they post it up and they'll be like, does anyone know this type of person and all that's looking for a job because we're hiring right now? And then people share it, and then their friends share it, and then you see other people's posts online. So I can definitely see, even just like with Facebook, that being a very easy way for people to network and find jobs that way, even without going on LinkedIn. But LinkedIn, if you've got a business profile, a lot of people are using their LinkedIn profiles now when they're submitting their resumes. And also they're submitting resumes and putting their LinkedIn bio things on there so people can go almost like it's their online resume basically and all now. So I could definitely see that networking aspect being true.
I totally agree with you. The LinkedIn is the business social media. Nowadays they've added a lot more cool features. They've added the videos, and they've really made it more of a social network and such. And it's really geared towards the businesses. When we were trying to hire here before for a person to be like an editor or extra camera person, we used LinkedIn. That was actually probably one of my primary sources for finding people. So 100% agree with the stats. About 85% of people really get connected and find jobs via social media.
And it's quick too, because it's like before I remember like years and years ago, even though we're not that old, like back in the day, like you could find opening job postings in the newspaper and all that would come to like your house and all. And now, but that would be like maybe, I don't know, once a week that you'd see the new job postings. And now it's like as soon as there's a job posting, hey, we're hiring, and it's right out there and it's out and about. Like, so you could put that posting out there and then like within a day have all these people applying to it already. And so
that's actually a good point. I didn't even think about that, because before, like you said, the newspaper, it was a lot slower. You make the posting, it'd go out, people, it would be out for a week. You start getting some phone calls. Hey, I'm interested in the job. You come in. Now, if you're paying attention to different, say Microsoft, we'll say a big company like Microsoft, hey, we're hiring for a content creator. boom, people are on it in like no time because, they're following these businesses and they're like, I want to be a part of this too.
Yeah.
So looking at HubSpot, they did their review and they said 70% of professionals say networking is more important than just having a resume. So with LinkedIn, it's kind of the mix of both. Your resume is online and you're also able to network too. I see myself when I go to networking events, people, we always will talk our big game like, oh, well, I run this photography business and I do this and that. Most of the times people don't really care so much about your background until they really want to get to know you. They mostly just want to see, are you a cool person?
Yeah. I see that being true. I also see like on paper, your resume is definitely like being in person, networking can do a lot more than your resume can, because resumes, if people get bored, they'll just skip over your resume and all, except for certain professions, depending on what you're doing. Even if you network, you're great, you're cool. If people don't see your work, then there's no trust being built on that aspect. So like online, a lot of people on Instagram or Pinterest, they'll have like their makeup jobs, like examples of people they've done makeup on, or they'll have, if you're a photographer, they'll have examples of their photos and all online. Because yeah, you can be cool and everything, but if people aren't seeing your work either, then that part, but it's a whole different type of resume. So that's all like, and if you're interviewing people for graphic designers, marketers and everything, you want to see their work and all to be able to kind of move forward. So I believe the networking, yeah, but the resumes, I feel like, especially the online resumes now for certain jobs, are crucial in order to help you get the job.
So, yeah. So basically the creative, there you go, the creative version of it with the online portfolio, like photographers will have pictures, videographers will have videos, musicians will have audio files and music, the dancers or actors, those kind of talent would have like a catalog of the different projects they've done and such. Because if people don't see like, for example, like a photographer, they only see that your photography style is weddings. A corporation may or may not use you, but then if they see, oh, all your stuff is corporate, oh, okay, well, this guy knows how to work the corporate well. And the other companies who are corporations, as in I do, who are corporations, trust him or her to be able to handle the kind of projects.
Yeah.
So that does speak volumes. Another one, this one was done by Adobe. Love Adobe. 60% of creatives landed their last gigs through online networking. And that actually hit right where we just were saying, that portfolio. One thing I love about Adobe is they try to help you in every way that they can with making your project good. I've heard of different community things that you can do with Adobe. I know there's like forums and everything that you can connect with people. I myself haven't really dabbled in it, but I think it's definitely something worth looking into, talking to other people with different experiences and so forth. So I think that's a really good stat.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with Adobe. You said Adobe Forms?
So they have like, they have forums, people ask questions and like, hey.
Oh, forums.
Forums, yeah.
I thought you were saying forms. I was like, they have forms?
Yeah,
to fill out forms? What's that have to do with it? So I got you. Sorry, I was completely out there right there.
No worries. And then last one, put this one down here. It says 4 in 5 businesses involved with LinkedIn, it helps boost their decision making. So LinkedIn has become a big tool for businesses when they're trying to pick a candidate for their businesses, or just kind of see business credibility. I know like a lot of people would use Glassdoor.com. You familiar with Glassdoor?
Way back in the day, I felt like, yeah.
People would do that. Like someone would post a job like, hey, I'm looking for, we'll go back to social media content creator. And they would go into Glassdoor.com. How much is this person getting paid? So it works. It works in so many ways. Of one, the talent, the people who are looking for talent can see stuff. But people who are talent, they can do their research on these companies and be like, all right, well, is this going to be something where I would be able to make some decent money, or or whatnot? What's this company all about? So
there's also interesting thing of, I forget when the feature went into play, but LinkedIn now has the feature of hiring and stuff and open to work. So it's like people that are looking for jobs, they can put that open to work on their profile picture, letting businesses know that do come, like that they might be searching a certain type of job people and trying to recruit these people online. And if they see the open to work, they're like, okay, I can reach out to this person. They are actively looking for a job versus the other ones that are companies, they might put on their hiring and all. And then if you're friends with them or if you are like second connections with them, then you're like, oh, that person's hiring and all. Let me talk to them because I think I might be able to fit that skill in there. So
I love that. That was good. I really like that. Yeah. I sometimes I forget about that with LinkedIn because I don't use it too much, but
yeah.
I do forget that feature, but that is a very powerful tool.
Yeah. And businesses too, they use it for, because you can actually search the open to work hashtags and different things. So they can search for people actively looking for work on those things. And then because it's basically your online portfolio for business, a lot of your work's right there. So they can look to see if it lines up with what they would need to and then reach out to you if they need to.
So using a different platform, they have their pluses and minuses. You know, we've mentioned LinkedIn a lot. I mean, that's probably the go-to for a lot of people. LinkedIn seems to be the best for business to business collaboration.
Yeah.
It's the best for just that kind of professional point of view. What do you feel Instagram is for? Do you feel like Instagram is ideal for creatives because it's a very visual sort of social media platform?
Yeah, I feel like I love going on Instagram for seeing photographers and videographers work, especially, and I love seeing the details and all. More recently, I feel like it's become a lot of the reels and the stories. So I feel like it brings a human element to a company's work, if that makes sense too. Because if you're thinking about it, you can post all of your work, but back in the day when Instagram first started, it might just only be your portfolio on there. So it was only your work and you're like, is this a guy or is this a girl? Like, who is this behind the scenes of doing this work? And now with the stories and everything, somebody might be like, hey, I'm at a shoot right now. This is what I'm doing, like having fun. And so you're like, it brings that kind of connection online, still like getting to know their personalities without actually being there with them, experiencing it. And also I do like that aspect of it. Yeah.
So
Does that answer your question?
So more humanized experience for Instagram versus LinkedIn. You think more suit and tie feel, while Instagram could be more like, hey, what's up, bud? How you doing?
Yeah, I feel like the business is more on the LinkedIn. Instagram, I feel like, is more, you get to see a little bit more of their other sides to them. If they're personalities, yeah, are they more goofy? Are they a lot of fun? They more serious? You see that come out more in the stories on Instagram now.
Right. And then Facebook, I think Facebook, just like Instagram, is more a personal approach. I mean, Facebook originally, when it first started, was for college students. You know, I remember all the way. I'm showing my age now, so when
you needed your college email in order to even log in for an account.
Yeah. So and then when they opened it up to the general public, I'm not gonna lie, when I initially saw it, I was like, oh man, I thought this was a special spot for college. But eventually, I was like, okay, it was cool. At least I have all my friends and family, and we can chit chat and stuff. I mean, I miss the good old MySpace days, you know. I wonder how social media networking would be if MySpace didn't die out.
I don't know, but I always crack up at the memes that go around about MySpace of like all these platforms now are like, we're going to add music in, and MySpace is like over here like, I gave y'all music before.
But no, you didn't want me.
Came around full circle. But I feel like Facebook is really good in the aspect of certain niche groups. For instance, I'm part of a lot of like local community, like Bucks County, yard sale sites and mom groups and all, like for things in the area. So I could go on these Facebook groups and interact with moms that are looking for activities to do with their kids and all and whatnot. So I like that aspect of it, because then too, if you're in local groups on Facebook, then even if it's not necessarily a business group per se, people are going to ask for recommendations on there all the time. Like I see like, hey, does anyone have a roofer? Like I need a new roof. Does anyone have a roofer they've recommended in the area? Or I'm looking to get photos done of my kid's graduation. Does anyone know a photographer that's local, that's available this date and all? So being in those kind of niche groups helps even businesses too, just being a part of it. Plus you're part of it as yourself. So it brings that here's a person behind the business into it too. Like you might be like, hey, I'm a photographer and all, I'm actually available that date. And you're in that group too. So it's kind of like almost like a connection already because you're both interested in this group as it is. And then there's other niche groups that are specifically for weddings. If you're in the wedding industry at all, and people, there'll be ones for PA, there'll be ones for like statewide, there'll be ones for countywide. So it's like getting into all those different groups for your different professions help out a lot too, because then that's where people go. Like if they just got engaged and they're looking for wedding photographers and they're in the wedding industry, they might go to these pages and be like, hey, I'm getting married on this date. Does anyone have a photographer that they'd recommend? I'm looking for this style, or I need a venue that's under this price point. Can anyone recommend something? Because you can go online and search and search and search, and sometimes it's just overwhelming. So sometimes people like those groups because they can get recommendations from people in the area without getting too overwhelmed online.
Yeah, and not get bogged down by, I mean, does this work? Does that work? It helps kind of narrow down the decision making. Like you mentioned, the Facebook groups. I've been in different networking groups, and what we would do is we would pay attention to these groups. Like we pay attention to like one specific group, and if that group would say like, hey, there's a photographer, everyone in my networking group who's worked with me or at least knows me, they could vouch for me and like, hey, work with Tato, work with Tato, work with Tato, and that really makes an impression because if a person posts, I'm looking for a photographer, and you see 7 people say, hey, work with Tato, you're going to be like, okay, he must be good because 7 different people who look like they're not connected to each other are all saying to work with him. Versus, I mean, you can get 1 or 2. That still works. Don't get me wrong. I've gotten jobs off of just one person commenting, but it's a numbers game. It starts becoming in those communities and such. That's a really great point because that's really where Facebook, I think, has its strong points is those community pages where people can just really niche in people do different communities from like favorite video game characters to, like you said, the mom pages. It's super powerful with Facebook. So getting in those groups and having people who are in there with you really can make a difference on building that referral and that online presence. YouTube is a great platform too. Now, YouTube doesn't have the traditional DMing people aspect like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn does. But YouTube's way that it helps you with networking, it helps you build your brand and it helps you build that trust and build that relevancy and everything. So if you're posting consistently, you're doing different content on a weekly basis or a daily basis. Some people do it every hour. I don't know, but
that just gives me anxiety thinking of trying to post every hour.
I know, right? Woo, man. But that's where you build branding and trust. And navigating the online world, I feel like you really just have to have just a little bit in each area. You don't have to be in on all of them, because it's unless you have a social media manager, which, social media managers, there are great ones out there. But just showing up and being consistent is super ideal. And then depending on what you're doing, you pick your social media platform like Facebook. If you're, say for instance, you're a photographer and you do a lot of stuff like say for maternity or stuff with babies and such, you're going to want to be on those community pages with the moms and family members that want to do that. That's going to be your thing.
Facebook too, also just to add to that, is really good with people that are doing events and all, because so many times I'll look for community things that are going on around our area. And you'll see, like, especially like if you look around like Easter time, you'll look in like Easter egg hunts, and there will be a ton of different Easter egg hunt events on the pages on Facebook and all. And too, a lot of times when photographers are advertising their minis, they don't necessarily need to pay for advertising because all they do is create an event on Facebook that puts it out there of like, I'm doing minis at this date with this is the theme and here, and it kind of just puts it out there to anyone that's kind of local. So it's almost like it's doing a little bit of help for you, attracting people to your event that might not have known about it otherwise. And
then they could put their booking information too on that same Facebook event page. That's a good idea for all of our like people who work with families. I mean, thinking outside the box, use what you have. There's a lot of free options out there that you can use. If you just use it strategically, I mean, it could definitely bring in a lot of great money and whatnot. So building your online presence is important. We talked about with LinkedIn and we even YouTube about building that brand and trust. You gotta make sure your stuff looks good. Have your logo set. Make sure your pictures or your videos are good quality. You don't just want to throw cell phone stuff out, unless the exception is if like you're doing behind the scenes, you want to make that more personal feel and whatnot. But the trick is you want to try to show as much quality in your work, so that way people say like, okay, well, Naomi takes her music seriously. She has a nice album cover and she looks great in her product and her photos for shows and everything. She must take herself seriously. Maybe she's an actual serious musician that we could use for our event or show and everything. You have anything else to add from that?
I want to say too, I don't want it to discourage anyone that might be like, oh, I don't have great cameras and all this stuff, so all I can use is my cell phone. I mean, cell phones nowadays take way better pictures than they did back in the day. So if you're just starting out, use what you've got until you can master what you've got and build to advance it. You don't want to get complacent with it either. So it's like as you grow, then try to get more professional, better looking stuff as you go. But if you're just starting out and you're like, I need to at least just start going, start with where you're at too and build off of that.
Yep. That's a good point. So yeah, because everyone has to start somewhere. And that at least when you're talking with people too and you're networking, like especially if you're a college student or you're just a more of a hobbyist photographer or musician, cell phone is perfectly fine. I mean, I got the iPhone and it takes some pretty good photos. You can even look up, there's plenty of videos on YouTube, like YouTube University, I like to say, that you can just look up and just like photography tricks with iPhone or with a Galaxy phone.
And some of them you don't even realize. You're like, wow, that was shot on an iPhone. Which version iPhone is this? Yeah. And just stuff. You're like, how come mine don't look like that?
Right, right.
You're like, I have the same phone and I can't get it to look like that. So if you're good at what you can do it. So
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go.
I was going to say back to when you had talked about real quick with YouTube. You were saying the benefits of YouTube. YouTube, too, we forgot to mention, is evergreen content. That's one of the things that is really good with YouTube because you put it on YouTube and it stays there. So if people in the future are looking for tutorials, looking for like how we just talked about the tutorials for the iPhone, they can search in iPhone camera techniques and then it might pull up videos from like 5 years ago and all, versus if you're on Instagram or Facebook, you can't really see content that might have been really, really good for what you're looking for that was a few years ago because it's constantly changing and all. So it's like even in your reels, you refresh the page and it's all new stories, all new reels and all, and it's hard to find those older ones. Like, because how many times have we seen a reel and then you go to share it with a friend and then it's gone and you're like, you don't even know who shared it, anything. You don't know how to find it again and all. But at least with YouTube, it's evergreen content. So it's like you can kind of try to find things that have been further back.
Thank you, YouTube, for being a great search engine. On the other social media aspects, we'll touch a little lightly on. One thing to be mindful for is when using these, okay, we talked about doing the community pages and everything. You could also send messages to people. You could think of different ways. You could use this as a way to, connect with other creatives or businesses and everything. What I always advise people, if you're going to reach out to like another creative or a business, you want to make sure that know your audience. If you're trying to message say the president of a business or everything, you got to make sure you come direct. These people got like 30 seconds, maybe 20
your
seconds
elevator pitch
to look at your thing. You don't have to put like an entire story of everything, but just enough to intrigue them. Like for instance, LinkedIn, for example, you can do, when you do a connection, you could do invite with a message. So when you do the invite with a message, you can just put your little blurb in there. That could be like, hey, I'm hey, I'm Tado. I do videography in the local area. A lot of different companies use me. Would love to connect with you to see if I could be a valuable asset to you. Simple, short and sweet. Now they look at that and they see, okay, this person does videography. They look at your profile. Okay, they seem all right, and then they add you. Cool. That means you've at least gone through that first barrier of Now they're okay. Now the next step is continuing that conversation. Now, to keep yourself from becoming too salesy or too much of too much of a salesperson is you don't want to just overly try to pitch them. We had Ashley Owens get on here, and she put on some great points about comment on some of their stuff. Maybe send them a DM at one point that says like, hey, I'd love to get 15 minutes of your time to learn more about your business and show you about what we do and everything. At least it starts showing an effort that you're interested in their business, and you're also like, I'm interested in you to kind of get to know you because, aside from the business, you are a human being just like me and you and such. So it keeps you on a more, not to say personal, but like it doesn't come off of just like, I'm transactional. There you go. That's what I was trying to find the word. The word I was trying to find was transactional. So it avoids that kind of mind frame.
Yeah, because that's what Ashley was saying too, how she would just go through in the morning, just like comment on people's posts and all with things that you resonate with and all to build that connection. Because if you haven't met them face to face yet, you don't have that connection yet. So it is all about building that network and connections, because whether it's online or in person, you're trying to connect at the basis of it.
Yes, because online networking isn't about selling. It's about showing up. It's about us being there and connecting with these people, commenting. You gotta acknowledge people's victories. I just saw a person who just said like, "Hey, we just won an award. We were a finalist on one of these website contests and such." Boom. Okay, I hearted it and I get congratulations. That at least shows, hey, I'm paying attention to you. I don't need to be like, oh man, blah blah blah, and like all these extra stuff. Like if we don't really know each other, and I'm just trying to build a rapport, a simple congratulations, hey, good job. Anything, it could be a little bit, works. But you don't want to come off fake, trying to act like, oh man, you're the greatest in the world and all this. Like, dude, like, don't even know me. Like, okay, whatever. Like, who are you? Like, but like a simple congratulations would totally be fine.
Yeah.
And touching on the one last thing I wanted to touch on with the being online is that you are building visibility, helps build credibility. And when you're seen, people can build trust. So again, guys, visibility builds credibility. And when people see you, they learn to trust you. And that is probably the most important thing when it comes to online networking. Make sure you're posting, make sure you're staying consistent, and also you're connecting and you're following up with people. Yeah. And I think that hits all of our major points today with networking online. Did we miss anything?
No, I think that's pretty much overall. Even just like with being seen, just make sure you have a good website too out there. Because how many times have you looked up somebody that somebody recommended and then it's just a name and all you see is like the name and a phone number. You're like, they don't even have a website like that I could check out their stuff. Like, yeah, I'm not going to call them. So yeah. There
are so many free websites that you could do. If you're a photographer, like this one's for photographers, pixieset.com. If you can get a website through them. There's so many different YouTubers that talk about there's wix.com. I mean, there's so many different things. Having even just a wix.com website helps. It's better than not having anything at all. Mm-hmm. So awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. It has been a huge pleasure. And we hope that you were able to gain some valuable information, learning how to network better online. And you can find us more. Visit us at www.23journeyscreative.com. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 23journeyscreative. I am Tyler Datson with Naomi Joy.
We'll see you next time, guys.
See you.